afternoon, Covert Witness, back with you again, here from the UK. Lots to talk about today, and it's been a very interesting night. I had a lovely, went to a birthday party last night, so was a bit the worst to wear this morning, but got over that. Anyway, moving onwards, this is to sum up events last week in April 2015, and it's now the 4th of May today. It is Star Wars Day. And what better an appropriate moment to upload an episode of Covert Witness due to the fact that there really is Star Wars in real life going on over my home. Psychic espionage and UFOs is the name of the game with me. And as I've always said, if you think this is the rants of a loon, jog on. If you think that I'm just doing this for a laugh, jog on, you're not welcome. And it's not about that. It's not about the rants of some sort of deranged loon sat here trying to convince people. I've nothing to lose, everything to gain, and I don't need to convince anybody of anything, really. I'm just plodding on with my experiences so that you may make an informed choice about what is happening out there in the big world. And just to recap, I was saying in the last episode that I'd got a real severe kicking. The first time in many years. It's the third occasion that's happened with one of these dot of light UFOs. I have to say that it is not part of the wider picture. They're not coming down the street with the laser beams invading anywhere. That won't be happening. That's not happening. It's just part of a smaller jigsaw that probably these UFOs with the dot of light probably date back to World War II and around that period. It's a complex picture. That's not what I'm going to talk about, but I can talk about that later. And as I say, I have two educated guesses about the origins of where they come from, these little dot of light UFOs. Anyway, got a right hammering by one, and said in the previous episode that I'd been awoken from sleep, very gently, by what appeared to be a female with the high forehead, a very flowing ginger hair, looked very beautiful and radiated health. After I put that up, we got whacked again by some bizarre covert interest as I slept. What they did was disgusting. It's not for public consumption, it's just something I have to deal with because this is a Covert Witness. It's covert, some of it's covert. The public don't see it, and this is like a snapshot, a window of what goes on. So I'm not going to tell you what happened, but it was an absolute disgrace what they did, and it was in reference to what I said. They know that Earth is having intergalactic and interstellar visitation, and that it is being kept quiet. And it's very interesting to note the interstellar stuff is a very interesting realm, really interesting. And speaking of interesting realms, this leads me on to after what happened when that happened, when I got whacked and whacked again. What is interesting to note is it normally happens out of sync. So what will happen is I'll have an interaction, and whatever's tracking me and monitoring me can't keep up because they don't know. They can only roughly guess. They don't know when something's going to turn up, so then you get whacked. So I have an interaction and then some kind of bizarre thing will happen in terms of mind control. As I previously said on other episodes, you cannot rule out the military experimenting with mind control. Exotic mind control technology cannot be ruled out. However, some shocking events happened this week, and I say shocking in a positive way, in a surreal, wild, far-out kind of way. And I'm following the track, I'm following the work of the Russian psychic espionage unit, Troop 10,003 they were called. And the reason why I'm following them is because if you follow what they're saying, they seem to set the yardstick as an example of what to do and how to deal with everything. They're the guys who know. So is there any wonder, in some ways, that Russia is being painted as a big bad wolf? And that's not because I have pro-Russian views. I think there's some serious issues go on with that country in terms of human rights. Isn't there all in all countries? What I'm thinking is just to point out events that happened, and it boils down really to responsibility with information, surprisingly. It isn't safe in a public domain to go spewing your guts out about what you know and what you don't know. It just isn't. That is because there is what I could describe as a loon element out there who, in the UK, maybe in other countries, are monitoring people like myself. We are persons of interest. And even more so now than ever before, I would think, because they really have hotted up the process of contact since they came over my house in 1999. In fact, probably they've already hotted it up without me even realising. And so you trust nobody. You don't trust what you see, and you follow the example of these Russian guys who had actually done operations involving contact with these extraterrestrials, and the fact of the matter was it was to do with quality and content of information. So it's no good me here coming on YouTube and telling you all about this, that and the other and their ambassadors and they're here to save me. I have to see accurately, 100% what's going on if they're saying something, and then I have to relay it to YouTube in a very accurate way. The Russians when the Russian unit did this, the psychic espionage unit, when they did these operations, they did the quality. It was the quality of information they were looking for, and that's what I'm looking for now. So things have slightly taken off. So there's no point in saying anything just for the sake of it. There really isn't. And there's no point in filming a dot of light UFO just for the sake of it either. Still expecting this UFO to turn up. I understand reports saying a village in Nigeria, a large craft, turned up over a village in Nigeria, I think, just recently. So I've been looking at that. But more importantly, after the incident that happened to me, which was just... it's nasty, ladies and gentlemen. It's nasty, and I'm not going to go into details because it's to do with control, consciousness, humanity. It's direction that it's going down in the future. I'm very much a fan of the concept of Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, the power to find someone, the power to bind them, and I think with it being Star Wars today, you know, may the Force be with you. And I always say this, may the Force be with you, may the ring of power bind you within the light in a dark world, is what I say. And that's an interesting subject altogether, but there is a ring of power. There is a power, there is a force, it is there, it's very real, and it is very true to say may the Force be with you because it is there. The Force is present and it's highly intelligent and it knows, it's aware, and it samples self-awareness at many levels. It's more real perhaps than what the Star Wars trilogy portrays. Yeah, and that makes me move rapidly onwards to what happened this week. So, Monday morning, beginning Monday morning, wandering to the shop around about 6:15 to get a newspaper. Had to be somewhere. So 6:15 in the morning, next minute, goes round the corner, walks round the corner, it's back to my home, to look up to see this great big white light looking at me in the sky. A good 4,000 or 5,000 feet. I would suggest it purposely would have shown up on radar, and that was before, and it was just unbelievable. The vision was the vision. I'm getting mixed up. Sorry, talking about. I'll come to the vision in a minute. I'm talking about what I saw over my house. So bright light, very very bright, very white, pure white in colour, just flashed in the sky, and there was no mistaking it, and hovered for a few seconds and then off. And you could just make out the outline of the object that had caused it, which was like a very light brown colour. Almost the skin tone of the Scandinavian visitors that I have over the house, and I have no doubt that it was them. I've just no doubt at all. And that's interesting because they showed me, just recently in Visions Gone By, they showed me, they were commenting on our flight technology being quite primitive, which it is compared to them. Our flight technology is quite primitive. And what they said, and this I find fascinating, dear listener, dear reader, dear viewer, what they said was that how they navigate across the universe is quite simply the universe is divided into a grid of navigation. The whole universe itself is like a giant kind of airship type egg shape divided into a navigational grid. And what they commented on is the fact that what is outside of that grid, if you can imagine the universe as a giant egg like a grid for navigation purposes, what fascinates them is what's outside that egg, what's outside that grid, what's outside the structure of the grid, what surrounds the grid, what has created the grid, what's there, and that's their area of fascination and understanding. And they seem to have and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I don't take anything at face value because I'm not a scientist. I'm having to look at all this research myself. But they also are very, very clued up on the effects of neutrinos and atoms and how they manipulate atomic structure and all that kind of thing. And that I thought was very interesting indeed. And then I had some further visions this week, very vivid, really, really vivid, of UFOs again over the house. Unmistakable bright dots of light, and this kind of like ship or craft, which was like something out of bloody Star Trek, really. It was like, what can I say it was like? I can only describe it as being kind of like in the shape. It was a craft, but in the shape of an eagle. So it had the kind of like the talons of an eagle. They were great big kind of talons coming out of it, but they weren't talons, of course. They were part of the shape of the craft. It's a most unusual looking craft, and it was hovering, huge thing, hovering like an eagle, just like an eagle, or I don't know, yeah, like an eagle. This is one of many visions that I've had. There was when the Ukraine stuff was kicking off. There was continual visions being received about Ukraine, Russia, escalation, back it off, cool it down. And luckily, I think these nation states have seen the wisdom of that. They do know. And that brings me to this morning's vision. Now, I'm still expecting this UFO to turn up, and I've not filmed it yet. So the rule of thumb, ladies and gentlemen, with all this is trust nobody, don't trust what you see, and also just quietly assess the quality of information that's being given. So for me, that the universe divided into a grid, according to what these Scandinavian visitors are saying, and what is beyond that grid is interesting. The second thing that's coming up that is really interesting comes to the area of responsibility with information. Because it's not safe in some cases to come on the internet, because there are a lot of covert interests out there. You have to be respectful of them. You do. Respectful, but that doesn't excuse their unethical behaviour. That's what I think. That's what I feel. But I have to be very careful, because I could shock a lot of people with what I know. And it isn't a game. So you have to be responsible. And yesterday morning, which was Sunday, I remember, I think, what had I done? Yeah, I was just, normally it's between 6 and 7 when things really, 6 and 7 in the morning when I'm half asleep, when things really start cranking up. And this was no exception yesterday morning. They clearly communicated where they were as a collective, and they clearly communicated what they were doing here as a collective, which deeply shocked me. And they also indicated their interest in the country called the United Kingdom, which is us. Why there are countries in this world, including America, one of the world's biggest military powers, but they're interested in the UK. They always have been, and it's reflected in my journals, which are going to be published, I've decided, from 2000 onwards. This constant theme of being interested in the United Kingdom, this constant theme of the UK, all the time, there's this constant theme. I hazard an educated and safe bet that if you look at the immigrants' situation, and the poor buggers trying to make it to the United Kingdom for a better way of life, and when you meet people, as I was speaking to a managing director of a company the other day, who's had experiences, but he didn't want to go deeper than in the public domain. He didn't want people to know. We've got to respect confidentiality. But he was commenting the UK people. He's been all over the world, from Romania to Russia. And people have no idea in the UK probably sometimes just how good we are, and everybody tries to get here, and that would appear including Johnny Alien Foreigner likes to come to the UK, and that makes some very interesting information. And so what they did is they identified who they were, and let us just say this, I'm being a bit economical, I'm being responsible with what I have to say here. They indicated what they were doing here, and they indicated it was partly to avert something. They also indicated that they are monitoring from another galaxy, which was Andromeda. And this is interesting because we hark back to a think tank in India, I believe, that just put classified information up in the Indian media. I do believe there's elements of it that was highly classified, and they just put it up in the Indian media. It's all gone now. It's all mysteriously disappeared. I've still got all the stuff because it was very relevant to what I was dealing with. And one of the things that they were saying was that and I think they're spot on, I don't know how they knew this, but they assessed, this is the key, that a planet within a galactic system, like we're dealing with here with other people, a planet is a region of governance, and then the galactic kind of an overall galactic governance, but the planet is a region of governance. It's a region, is a planet. So a whole planet is classed as a single region in their ballgame. And the fact that they look like me and you, and the fact that they have technology similar to ours, and that leads me on to the area of responsibility that I want to just subtly go into. And they stated their purpose, why they were here, which was A, to prevent something, and B, also it would appear that is to do with some of these civilizations can manipulate the weather and manipulate their planetary systems in such a way that they don't have the global disasters that we see on, or global and all that kind of thing that we see on planet Earth, as in Nepal, as in what's going on there, all that kind of thing. So that seems to be what is going on. That was the purpose that they're watching, and there's another purpose as well, but I'm the last to find out. But the information is coming through, even at a mediocre level, and so what we've got to focus on now is just getting that information correct about what they're saying. And then hopefully it'll escalate to a level where people will go, my God, that is absolutely fascinating, because what is the point? Just what is the point of doing this if it isn't fascinating and if it isn't interesting? But they did say, and it is recorded in one of my journals, they did actually say about responsibility of information, about what they're telling me and how that's delivered, because it's got to be, because it would shock a lot of people. In fact, it's all shocking really what's gone on, and I was very shocked the other day at what they were showing me. And there's no doubt in my mind that they are from a neighbouring galaxy, and they are a collective of people. They're not just one visiting group, they're like a collective. And what was even more shocking was they pointed out an organisation on Earth that is aware of this, as I am. That's the area where it gets a bit dangerous, so I think we've got to be respectful. But what they're doing is they're pointing out where I need to look at. And it's bloody hard going. It's bloody hard work, ladies and gents, but I think at the end of the day we'll get there. So what really the organisation concerned is aware of them. So the baffling question is, why did we cover it up? That's the baffling thing. So what we've got is the fact that their navigation systems work on a universe that is divided into a huge grid of navigation. The other thing to look at the fact is that it is a mystery to them. What is outside of that grid is for them what they explore. They are interested, and the Scandinavian type looking group they've told me they do exploratory operations of all kinds. So it's interesting, isn't it? It is, and I'd like to hear more information about all this, about what's going on, and I'm interested to know why the UK. All I can do is just act as a repeater, because I do believe that they're also speaking to a mysterious third party on Earth. Somebody somewhere is also in contact with them. Very John Hurt, isn't it? Very Contact, with the mysterious multi-million-pound businessman who knew what was going on, kind of thing. And it's just interesting to say the least. And just thank God they're here, really, because if it's correct, what I know and what I've been shown was quite unbelievable. And I don't feel comfortable sharing it, really. I just don't. And I think it won't happen due to them being here, and thank God for that. But yeah, so they look like me and you. They have their own ways and means, I think, of doing things. The universe is populated. It's that simple. And so I expect another UFO to come over the house at some point in the proceedings and get some really good footage. And it's to do about, I think it is all to do with consciousness and the manipulation of consciousness. Many, many moons ago, when it was going on, when I was being harassed and stalked, these mysterious people were wanting a child from me as well. They were wanting a child from me, and one still has no idea why. And it can be reported to say that in my journals there is a distinct possibility that has happened to me, where some interaction has occurred at a memory known as screen memory, whereby you remember only kind of like what they want you to remember. And you know, it's carrying on, ladies and gents, it is. And I really just run out of things to say at the moment, but it is. We do realise that they're coming in now over the house, and they're here, they're present, and it's not easy in the slightest, really. It really isn't. So what is outside the grid? That's the question. What is outside this big navigation grid? I think is of mystery to them. And also, I think we can safely say that there's going to be more information coming my way about all this. It's just a worry that where this country's going. And the fact that they're here to abort some type of disaster is a bit science fiction for my liking. It is. So they tell me, but I trust no one. So I can't trust what I'm being told. I'm rambling a bit now because I've just run out of things to say just at the moment, and yet there's so much going on. It's just hard to keep track of. One of the debates I've got to do is whether I write my book or whether I publish the journals. And my guidance tells me, my guides, if you could call them that, tell me that it's the time to publish the journals first. So I've got to get all that data sorted out, and we'll put the journals up, and you will see what it's like to be on the receiving end of high-tech state surveillance by fucking lunatics, as well as having these interactions. They don't call me Covert Witness for nothing, and I am Tony Topping, and this is Covert Witness. May the Force be with you.